Hi there. So I got a request from the community regarding on the deep diving and how I have set up the SSL UF8 with my Cubase and how I'm using different type of macros. So I'm doing now a deep dive on SSL and how I have configured it to be used with Cubase. This is of course how it supports my workflow best, but hopefully you get some ideas on how to use it in yours. Of course, the SSL UF8 can be used other digital audio workstations as well. So I'm happy to dive into my configurations in Ableton or Pro Tools or Logic Pro X or Studio One as well if you are interested. So please leave me comments below if you have interest for me to kind of elaborate this also in different other digital audio workstations. So let's dive into how I have configured my SSL UF8 with Cubase. Okay, so let's dive into how I have configured SSL UF8 with my Cubase. And in order to do that, I'll launch the SSL UF8 or SSL 360 as they have the app that enables you to create configurations for the SSL UF8 and other devices as well. So here, this is my Cubase configuration. However, I could also pull in other configurations that I have. So you can go from here and change what digital audio workstations you are using, like Pro Tools, Logic Pro, Ableton, Studio Luna. And here you can see actually all the ones that they are currently supporting. But let's stick with Cubase as I have a quite good project to demonstrate the capabilities of the SSL UF8 and how to program it for your workflow. So here, like in the first page, you have pretty much the basic functionality, and I haven't touched those. So I haven't changed these, so you can get into the FX Sense, EQ, Strip, VST instrument, and you know, all the basics things, right, like from the very first page. Then if you go to the number 2, that is where I have actually configured, and some of them were pre-made, so that you can, you know, from a transport point of view, you can rewind, you can basically stop, play, record, cycle, and then, you know, go left and right. I will demonstrate the functionality of all of these, or most of these at least. And then on the second page, I have things that relates to, you know, tracks. So I can pull in channel editor, inspector editors, key editors, and sample editors. Then I have a zone that I can open the right and left zone, and as well as the folder toggles and show lane. And for those, I actually created just an example and a video where I explain how to do, for example, this macro, or how basically Cubase calls it. Let's go here. So you have this project logical editor. So you can create this within Cubase, but I had another video just out where I explained how to use this. Anyway, let's go back to the SSL UF8 configuration. And then basically what I have done in these cases, I have used the keyboard shortcut and defined that in Cubase, and then programmed the keyboard shortcut over here. There are some ready-made commands as well, like they support by nature. So if I go, let's go to the empty space where I don't have anything. So I could actually also pull a DAW command, so like EQ pan or any that they have pre-programmed into the SSL UF8. And so that's what you could do here. And then on the 4th page, I pretty much have things related to looping and navigating also with transport. So it's top of my, because if number 1 is basic transport, number 3 is basically the transport then related to like how to navigate between the markers, how to set up markers and set left and right. But I'll show how they all work. And then the last but the least is basically where I have different things related to visibility of tracks, and then adding a track, duplicating a track, adding an FX, deleting a track, or disabling the track. And here you can, as you can see, you can also color code these buttons. So if I go here and change this to red, you see that this changed to red. And then you can also put it into the default when it's white. So if you want to enhance some of the colors within these soft keys, you can do so by selecting from here. Additionally, on top of these soft keys, what I have used and what I have programmed is I have basically here the 1, 2, and 3, where the first one is recalling a mixer, the second one is recalling an edit window, and that's basically a channel edit window, and then the last one is calling an instrument. Then what I have done is that I have overwritten the factory settings so that with these 8 buttons I can call, and this is now basically with Cubase 14, where they enabled a keyboard shortcut to be assigned of opening and closing a plugin and insert within a selected track. So I have utilized that functionality here. And then for the convenience, I have repeated the instrument and edit window also here on these buttons. So yeah, so these are basically the things that I have programmed in. And then on the second tab, which I can select from here, I can then, I have some basic MIDI controllers defined. So I have for expression and dynamic when using with synthesizers, or when uses with virtual instruments, I could control MIDI CC messages through this second page. But yeah, now I go back to the first page, and that's basically the control, so we can step through like how it actually then functions within the Cubase. So let's close this one. So now when I'm here, let's go and select a track first that I could basically showcase, for example, these buttons. So in a case, I have now the last track selected. The first one will launch the mixer. So I will basically, it will open up the mixer and the selection is on the track that I have. Then when I go and press 2, it will open the channel settings for that, channel strip for that selected channel. Or then if I press 3, it will open an instrument editor for me. So I can go and tweak my instrument on it. So let's go back then here, and let's go and select something else. So let's see where, let's take, for example, this one where I have actually a bit more. Let's go here, the choir track. So now here, basically, when I have these 3 inserts or plugins in place, now I could basically recall them like here. Just pressing 1, it opens up the EQ, and of course I can have multiple open at the same time. So if I want to utilize them, I can position them in a screen and then use them. And also, of course, the third one. So that's basically extremely handy. One thing regarding on the plugins and how I use also the SSL UF8 is that, for example, when I have a compressor here, when I go on top of this knob and I press this focus button, now when I turn, it actually focuses into the controller that I have there. So I can tweak it with this one. Also, if I go on top of that, the same thing applies. Or any of the controllers that you have in your VST, you can go and change based on this. So it makes quite fast, because if you go here and you wanna a bit basically tweak gain, you can do so. And then yeah, so that's basically it regarding on this focus button. That's built in, so you don't need to program that. Then if we dive into the more on the functions that I have programmed here in the soft keys, let's go to the one. Now this is very basic, so you can as you can see, you can cycle on off. Then you can go into the left or the right part of that position. So if you want to start playing it from the beginning, you can go for that, and then you know, have that. So you have play and you have stop, and when playing you can also do a forward or backwards. So you can basically change the cursor position in that respect. Then we move on, we go to the page number, actually we could actually hop into page number 4, which is transport related things. So I have done it like on top of each other, so I can easily, if I'm in transport and I need to do something, I can basically then go and switch that quite quickly. So for example, if I go and now select this one, I say loop selection, so now it starts to loop that selection for me. Then of course I could locate the start, locate the next event, and so on and so forth. So I can basically jump into locate next event, and it will go into the beginning of that event within that track. So that's one thing that I have done. Then of course, if I'm in a place where I don't have a marker, let's go like for over here, I can add a marker from here. So quickly, just basically when for example, I fast forward to some position and I want to add a marker, I can do it quite easily. I'll just undo that, but then also I can go from previous to the next marker easily. So let's see that I want to actually loop now from here to the 6th. So I can go with the markers that I have set. I can say set left, and then I can go here and say set right. And now I have actually quite quickly created the section that I want to loop within the Cubase. So now we have actually looked into the transports of 1 and 2 and how I have programmed those as I explained in the beginning. So then what I do next is that we can go over here and then look on the controls that control regarding on the view. So I can bring in the channel, I can bring in the inspector when needed. Then here also I have the right zone, so I can hide this to get more landscape for my arrangement. Then one thing what I have here is also that if I have a folder like this, I can toggle the folder on and off. So so that's something that I showed in one video, how to program that into Cubase. And then also if I have a for example here, if I want to show lanes, I have it here, so that if I have multiple takes, I can see those takes, and then I can hide the lanes. Then again, if I have here if I have selected I could bring in the bottom editor, or I could bring in a sample editor in its own view. And then of course, if I have some MIDI stuff, I can go, let's go and find a MIDI event. Then if I bring in the key editor, I can quickly also open that directly from here. And this, at least in my eyes, makes my workflow very convenient. So now I have went through all these editors and how to deal with the channel inspector and right zone. So let's move into the number 3. That is basically zoom into location. So so you can basically be in a location and say that zoom into location, so it will zoom into where you are at. Then I have an undo zoom here, but then if I have a selection, for example, in this case, what I have this MIDI now selected, if I say zoom selection, it will zoom into that MIDI for me. And then of course it will zoom even further if needed. Then I can go and zoom into track. So let's select, for example, that. So then I can quickly see, what's going on within that track when I say zoom track, and then I can undo zoom. Again, I can put tracks full, so it will kind of squeeze everything into my screen, and I can again undo it from here, or tracks minimal, so it will show the minimal view of the tracks in my project, and then again undo will undo it and bring everything normal or to prior your zoom. So yeah, so that's basically number 3 where I had my zoom commands. And then the last one is the 5th one, where I can basically then, you know, if I'm let's go like, for example, here, let's go here. I have this first section here, and I'm there, the cursor is there as you see. Then I can say that show those that have a data in a cursor. So it will now filter down only to the tracks where I have something, either MIDI or audio events in that track. And then of course I can say undo visibility when it basically goes to normal, and then it will show all the tracks for me. Another one is that is basically that, you know, data at location and data at cursor. So that's what I can do. Then, for example, if I have here a track that I'm not using, I can disable the track from here. So I can just press it, and now the track is disabled, and now I can enable it, disable it, enable it. So basically that is how I can get rid of tracks that I want to keep in my project, but I want to disable them for a reason. That, for example, virtual instruments, if I bounce them into audio, then I could still keep that track, but I could disable it and it would not take any memory and CPU. And then of course I can add a track which will just launch the track to be added. Then I could also duplicate the track if I have it there, so I can just press duplicate track and then it gets duplicated. And then of course, I could basically do that so that I select that track and then I say duplicate it, and then when I'm there I can also say delete track, so it will delete the track that I have selected or the tracks that I have selected. So this was very kind of a quick crash course on that, how I have programmed these keys for my workflow. Of course, we all have individual preferences, but hopefully this gives you some ideas on that. Alrighty, so that was a quick look into how I have utilized SSL UF8 macros and soft keys and how I have programmed them with Cubase. As said, it can be applied to different other digital audio workstations similarly, so leave a comment below if you want me to kind of highlight how I have configured it for my Ableton or other digital audio workstations that I use, so I can do also a specific session about that. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, so remember to like them, and also remember to subscribe for my channel for more content. Thanks for watching. Bye now.